everybody, it is Charlotte with Charlotte Plans, and I am here because a viewer asked a question and I thought it was very interesting because it's someone that possibly is working with an irregular income, and I'm very thankful that my income stays pretty standard and I get paid every 2 weeks and things like that. So I'm very lucky that I have that ability, that I'm able to, I know what I'm pretty much going to get paid every single month and everything like that. But I do know that there are people out there that get paid irregular income. So the anybody that works in the restaurant business, some not teachers, but substitute teachers, and any other type of like contract workers and things like that that are out there. So the question is, do I include my savings accounts or cash on hand in my budget? Sometimes my income is less than my monthly bills, so I have to dip into my savings checking accounts. Should I include them under my income or not include them at all? So my suggestion is that you would include them in your budget, but it's not necessarily like it's hard to explain it. So I'm going to go ahead and explain it in a video format because it is a very pertinent question, because there are a lot of people that work with irregular incomes and it's not knowing how much you're going to get paid. I mean, people that work hourly, if they get sick and they can't go into work, that's another irregular income because you're losing money for that day of being sick. So say you expect to get paid $500 every single week. And I'm assuming this is just anybody offhand. I'm making up numbers here, but I'm assuming that person A is going to get paid $500 per week for the month on every Friday of the month. So that would be a budgeted amount of $2,000. Their rent is $800. They are expecting their electric to be $100, their water to be $30, their groceries to be $200, gas will be $80, and insurance $150 because that's pretty standard. They also have a car payment that is $500. But when they actually get their bills in, their first paycheck is about $500. They're not about. Their first paycheck is $500. Their second paycheck is $500. Their third paycheck actually ends up being only $100 because they got sick for 4 days and they couldn't go into work. And then the next week they had $500. So that gives them a total of $1,600 for the month. The rent is $800. Their electric actually turned out to be $150. Their water was actually $40. Groceries ended up being $400. Auto gas ended up being $100, and car insurance $150, and the car payment $500. So when you add all of that up, all of these expenses, it is way more than the actual amount up here. So real quick, I'm going to grab my calculator. Okay, so their total on their expenses ends up being $1,640, and their car payment is $500. So total expenses, including debts, ends up being $2,140, which is way more than what they actually got paid. So they have to somehow come up with they are over budget by, and I have this backwards, they have to come up with $540. And the only way that they can do that is in their savings accounts or cash on hand. So if you're doing a paper budget, I would do something along the lines of this, where you have the kind of worked out like this, and then you list your savings. So over here in savings, say you have $3,000 saved. because you were very frugal and put in a tax return or Christmas money or something like that. You've just been putting stuff into savings because you know you get paid irregularly. So from here, you have $3,000 in your savings. So I would go over here and just do a, say, over budget, and deduct the $540. And if you have to keep doing that to pay for stuff out of savings or out of cash on hand, so if you had still $30 left from groceries from last month, and you know you went over by $200 this time, use that previous cash for your groceries, so that way you're only having to pay $170 out of your savings to cover your groceries. But I would go through here and put stuff in. So your electric, let me flip this over so I can actually write a little cleaner. So electric minus, how much was electric over? $50. And then you have water was over $10. Groceries over $150 because you have the groceries here, so you can do groceries minus 30. You are zeroed out on your cash on hand. So for groceries, you still need to come up with $170. And auto gas was over by $20. So then you can come through here and say 3,000 minus 50 minus 10 minus 170 minus 20 equals once you deduct all of that, I would keep a running tally on what you have left in savings, so that way you don't end up drawing from your savings accounts. So in this case, you would be left with $2,750 left in your savings. And in groceries, you have, or in cash on hand, you have nothing left over. So you have a remaining of $0. That's how I would do it on a paper budget. But let's go on over and kind of look at maybe every dollar or something like that, because there is options that you can do in there. Okay, if you're doing a irregular income based budget in every dollar, there is one thing that you can do in here where you've put in all your planned, just like the paper budget, you put in all your budgeted, planned amounts that you would get paid. Then you have your rent, your electricity, your water, your auto gas, your insurance, your groceries, and your car payment. And then up here is another budget group that is considered savings. So if you have anything in an emergency fund, you would put it here. That's something in every dollar that you can't delete. It's automatically there. Then you can add in other categories right here saying cash on hand. So you have $30 with cash on hand. You have two savings accounts. One savings has $2,000 in there, and the other one has $1,000 in there. And the emergency funds, you don't really consider that part of your savings accounts, because that's an emergency fund where you're trying to save up for in case of emergencies or things like that. So let's go ahead and add in some of the things that we discussed on the paper budget. $500 at the beginning of the month, actually on Tuesday, track income. No thanks. Add 500 for the second week. And then the third week is where you only got paid $100. And then paycheck 4 was for $500 for the fourth week. So that gets you the $1,600. Now we're going to leave the savings stuff alone for right now and then go into adding in transactions for, you paid your rent on the 1st of the month. Okay, electricity, you ended up paying $150, and that was due on, say, today, the 10th. Track expense. And then water, it was due on the 1st with your rent, and it was $40. So that gives you your over budget in some areas. Gas, you ended up, if I could click on the right buttons, spending $100 on auto gas, and we're just gonna put it towards the end of the month. Your insurance, it was due at the beginning of the month. And your groceries, we'll go ahead and add in the groceries. Okay, so that gives you your $200 over on your groceries. And then your car payment, add new, you paid $500 on the 20th. So before the beginning of the month, it says you had $140 left to budget. So you were planning on putting that $140 towards your car payment at the end of the month. But instead, you ended up getting sick and missing 4 days of work. So you were only paid $100 for the 3rd week of work. And then you went over budget in electricity and water and gas and groceries for the month as well. So there are 2 things in an every dollar budget that you can do to figure out or to reconcile if you were over budget. So in electricity, one thing you can do is just go ahead and make 2 transactions. So one transaction would be for $100, and it would come out of your electricity budget. So instead of doing $150, you'd do one for $100. And then you would do a separate one for $50 to pull out of your savings accounts. But in this case, we've already put it in there and everything. So what you can do is on the transaction, come over here, add a split, and you want to deduct it from your savings too. And then you can come over here and do $100 and then $50, track expense. So now your electricity is back to normal where it's 0 remaining, but your savings right here is now at $950. So that way it's keeping a running track of what you have in your savings account as well as kind of budgeting things. So when you come over here and click on transactions, you can click on the one that it usually pops up under new, but you can do tracked, and you will see right here if it is something that is split between 2 different things, it is linked like this, and you can kind of see how much, and it's hard when I run the cursor over there because it grays it out, but you can see how much went to the electricity budget, and it says it right there in blue right underneath the word electricity. And then in the savings one, you can see that $50 came out of your savings too. The same can go forward with your transaction for your water. So add a split, but this one you want to have come out of your savings 1. So you do $30 to water and $10 from savings 1. Now your savings 1 is at $19.90 and your water is zeroed out. Gas and oil, same thing. You just come through, add a split. You want to have it come out of savings 2, track expense. Oops, would help if I put the actual amount. 80 and 20, then track expense. Now you're zeroed out and your savings 2 has been reduced by $20. And then groceries, This one you can add in 3 splits. So, well, one of them. So this one you went ahead and used $30 from your cash in hand. So you're going to put cash on hand, $30, and then $70 came out of the regular expense. So now you still have, switch it back, still have it up here saying minus 170, and your cash on hand now is at 0. But now you have to go through and say this one, you need to have it come out of a savings, and you want to have it come out of savings 1. So you're going to do 30 and 70 and track expense. And you're still $100 over, so this third one really needs to come out of your savings account. So savings 1, $100, and deduct groceries. And now your groceries still says planned at $200, and when you come in here, now there's only 3 transactions because that fourth one that you used has now been pushed up here into groceries. So it's still saying $140 left, and that's because right here you need to change that to not 1,000 but 100. Technically you are over budget because you only got paid $1,600. So what you had budgeted, it is still $260 over, but if you come over here and you see in your remaining, you don't have anything left over in your remaining. There's no reds or anything like that because it's all been pulled out of your, if I can get to the right thing, it has been pulled out of your savings accounts instead. The only place that you want to see remaining amounts would be right here. If you have anything left over in any of the other ones, you want to move that. So if you had got through and you actually on your car payment, no, not car payment, on your insurance, you ended up only paying $130 because that's all it was this time. So you have that $20. Well, you can change this to be $130 and then take that $20 and add it to a savings account. So that way it's, you just kind of have to work the numbers. A budget should be very fluid. You have something kind of set in stone with what you plan to spend that month, but life happens and you get sick, you can't afford to, you can't go to work, and despite what you want to do, your doctors tell you no, you have to get a doctor's note to return back to work, and so it's all of this type of stuff. So you are without money for 4 days and you need that money to pay for bills, and it's very good if you have any extra money left over. So say it's the winter months and you live down here in Houston and your electricity, it didn't get that cold this winter, so your furnace was not kicking on or anything like that, so your electric bill is really only like $40. Take that extra $40, or you budgeted $100, take that extra $60 and throw it into a savings account. That's exactly what I do with my bills during the winter time, but instead of throwing it into my general savings account, that's my emergency fund, I actually set up a sinking fund that is called my summer bills. So I move that money that is supposed to be for electric, gas, and water. If I have anything remaining in those 3 categories, I actually move that over into my summer bills sinking fund that I have. It's a savings account through Capital One 360, and I put that money in there and let it sit there gaining interest, and then when the summer bills come through and my water bill and electric bill, and I would actually pull from that summer bill sinking fund. So I would pay my water and my gas from what I had budgeted and everything. So I would pay it from my regular bank account and everything. The electric bill is one that I can go through and pay part of it with one account and part of it with another account. So that's where I will pull in money from my summer bills sinking fund. And it has actually helped me with my budget and not feeling overwhelmed with not being able to pay my bills. What I can suggest to do in your paper budget is to keep a running total of what you are deducting from your savings accounts and cash on hand, and also from your every dollar if you choose to do every dollar. I don't do Excel spreadsheets, but you can do the same thing. I believe it's Budget Advice Girl. She does a worksheet, a Excel worksheet. She is now debt free, but she has gone through and kind of redone her budgets and everything, and she keeps a running total of expenses and things like that, and then off to the side she kind of puts out there how much she spent on clothing, on groceries, and all the transactions. So it's just like every dollar, it's just in an Excel spreadsheet format. So if any of the viewers are more familiar with Excel spreadsheets and things like that, I suggest go look at her channel, and I will leave a link down in the description box below to her channel. But I enjoy watching her because she is very entertaining, and just watching her go through her journey has helped me as well, trying to go through my own journey and knowing that working off of a limited budget, you can still pay off a lot of debt. If anybody would like to see her channel, the link is down in the description box below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will check back with you guys with the next video. Bye, everybody.